Hi, my name is Bobbye Brooks.
And I'm Tonilee Adamson.
I want to welcome you to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. This is our new radio show format, and you can not only listen, but you can watch.
Yes.
So you can go to bobbyeandtonilee.com and actually watch right there on the website, which is on our YouTube channel. And you can always visit us online at dailydisciples.org or mediaforwomen.com. And if you're watching right now, you're going to see a guest that's on the program with us, Sammy, the office dog. He's Tonilee's dog, but he really does have quite a few mamas. But if you're watching the show, which we highly recommend you watch it because it's a little bit more entertaining than just listening, but Sammy's in the shot with us today. However, that being said, again, you can go to bobbyeandtonilee.com and check out all the past programs and future shows. But we want to talk about something. The reason we are really changing the format is to discuss topics that are definitely Christian. I mean, we're Christians, so there's a Christian base to everything that we do. You know, when people say something about, I own a ministry, I always think, well, ministry's in the heart, right, TL?
Yeah. Well, you used to say, I hate the word ministry, because everyone used that kind of as a catch-all phrase,
right,
to make it sound Christian.
Well, it's like you have to have a ministry to be in ministry,
right,
but in reality, everyone should be in ministry. If you think about it, our lives should be a ministry. So, so regardless of that, so what we're going to talk about today is possibly a little controversial, and it's a
possibly. It totally is. I said to you, Bobbye, if we talk about that, that's going to open a can of worms. And you said, perfect. That's what Unplugged is about.
All right, that's
can
right.
of worms.
You're going to get it.
That we live in, because these are Christian lives, and we are dealing with really confusing issues. And if God says we're supposed to have peace, then how come we're always so confused?
Okay.
So,
all right, I'm going to tell you a true story, and it just happened yesterday. So regardless of whenever you may be watching or listening to the show, this is a very recent story. My sister called me, and she had a really serious dilemma, and it was something that was on her heart, and she was very, very concerned about it. So here's the story. Her last husband, she's in her mid-50s, and her husband died about 3 years ago, literally died in the bed. And she came home one day, and he never got up. So since then, about a year later, she started dating a man who, I met him 2 or 3 times, really nice man, Christian man, meaning they went to church together, very close, and were engaged to be married. He had grown children, but she never really met them. He had a daughter that she had met once.
and they had been together how many years?
They had been together since her last husband had died.
So was that like 3 years?
Yeah, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
But they had known each other prior to this because my sister has been in AA for probably 20 years or so. They met in AA, so they're both recovering alcoholics. And they had vowed, of course they'd been sober for this whole time and still going to the AA meetings.
But that's part of the reason why he wasn't really around his family.
Right.
But
There's
he
always
did come to know the Lord, and they did meet, and they were dating, and they were close. But
and they were engaged.
Yes.
They were engaged to be married. So anyway, she goes to my other sister's house and comes home a day early. So she comes home a day early, goes over to his house to see him. He is sitting in the chair with a beer in his hand. Well, she is livid, first of all. Like, what are you doing drinking a beer? She had they've been together all this time.
We do not want to start this again.
We're not drinking. They've been in AA for years. Well, come to find out, he had been drinking the whole time they were together. She did not know it. Well, she obviously is really upset about this and breaks up with him. We're not getting married. I'm not going to be around somebody that, first of all, has lied to me, and second of all, is drinking, because it's just a place I can't put myself in, that kind of position. So they get into an argument. They break up. 2 days later, he calls her and he says, can we get together and just go to dinner? And she said yes. Of course, she still loved him. Of course, you know, just because this happens.
Well, it's like an impulse breakup.
You break up, but done. She loved him. She's shocked. She's disappointed. She's hurt. She's all these things. It's emotional, right? Okay. So they decide to get together and they go to dinner. And before dinner came, she didn't hear from him. And she goes over to his house, and he's sick. Something's wrong. And she says, like, what is wrong with you? And he says, I don't know. I'm just really, really sick. She takes him to the doctor.
I haven't heard this part.
He ends up in the hospital.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, they're running tests on him. And they don't really know what's wrong, but they think he's going to be okay. So she goes home.
Yeah.
And next day she comes back, she walks into the hospital, and they tell her he just died. Died.
I knew that part.
Okay. He died. Now they assume it was a heart attack or something. I don't know all the details, but let's just say this. Now, 2 days earlier, they had this huge fight. Kicks her, they break up. Now he's dead. He dies out of the blue. Okay. That is a lot of emotional junk right there. It gets worse. And here's where it gets worse. He had told her that he had 2 life insurance policies. One with her name on it, because they were planning on getting married, and one with his daughter's name. That he was estranged from his daughter. He had not seen her in years, and they did not have a relationship. But I guess at one time, he had a life insurance policy that he had said was for her. Well, when he died, my sister began, they found the life insurance policy with her name. They called the insurance company, and they began looking for this other life insurance policy with his daughter's name. And his daughter shows up, of course. Her father's dead. And they have no money to even bury him. So my sister pays for the burial, pays for the ceremony.
Yes.
It's at a church. And she's just, my sister is just devastated, first of all, that he's dead. Just devastated.
You say that like I was an ICU nurse, and we didn't say that word like you say it.
Because she loved him.
He passed away. Make it a little softer. He passed away.
He died. He dropped dead.
Oh.
He died. I don't know
you
how else to say
it. You are so from the South. In the bed, dead.
He's
That's
dead.
how you say it.
He died.
Okay, let's move on with the story.
All right, now.
So wait a minute. So I'm going to finish the story because you are dragging this out, and it is painful to listen to.
Well, it's important because she's suffering.
They couldn't find the life insurance policy for the daughter that he was not in relationship with any longer because probably of his drinking issue. But she shows up. And then her sister, Diane, is the one taking care of all the funeral arrangements, has been in his life. She knew about both life insurance policies, but for some reason they only found hers. Now, we're not talking about an extreme amount of money, but the idea that we found Diane's, that Diane's was found and not the daughter's, has caused conflict.
Right.
So now we're talking about Diane is in her 50s, late 50s, and so now everyone's involved in this because this is a significant other who is the love of Diane's life, and now we're having daughters that she's never even met. Diane's children who are adults are now having their opinion about everything. So Diane is not only grieving the breakup, grieving the exposure of alcohol in the relationship that she didn't know of, so kind of that feeling of betrayal, grieving that she took this man that she loved to the hospital, and the next day the nurses say, we're sorry, he's not here anymore.
He's dead.
Okay?
He died.
And so he died. So, and then she's got to deal with the funeral. Well, let me tell you, it's not even about this man who has passed away anymore that he knows Jesus and loves Jesus. It becomes all about the money.
Right. Okay. So I need to say this because this is what happens. This is I guess this is the controversy. Okay. Now
I think everybody knows what the controversy is.
I'm going to tell you what I said to her.
Wait, I got to say one more thing before you because I was in the car driving when you were saying this.
I know,
okay.
right.
One more thing. This has become all about the money now. It's
always
not
does.
about, it's become about the proverbial right and wrong.
Yes.
What is the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do, okay? So it does not matter all the rights and wrongs that have happened in everyone's choices throughout this whole period of time. Now it's right and wrong when it comes to Diane's children, when it comes to his daughter, when it comes to a funeral, when it comes to alcoholism and AA. I mean, there are so many issues involved in this that people are telling Diane, well, you should just give up that money, just give it to the daughter. And she said, well, should I get reimbursed for the funeral that I just paid for? And the confusion that has gone on. So go ahead, Bobbye.
Okay, so here's what happens to her in her situation, which I think this is what happens to a lot of us. What do you do? Now the daughter is saying, well, I should get the money. That life insurance policy should just come to me. I'm the family. And so Diane's children, who are now adults, said, you know, Mom, the right thing to do is give the money to the daughter. Well, he didn't have a relationship with the daughter, and maybe
Diane didn't even know the daughter.
Maybe he combined the policies and actually just put the policies together and put them in Diane's name. And she thinks after talking to the insurance company that's what happened. So my sister is a widow 2 times. She lives in a 1-bedroom basic studio apartment herself. She is by far, in her own right, strapped financially. She takes care of 4 grandchildren in many ways and is helping with our elderly mother right now. So she's got everybody telling her.
And she takes care of her grandchildren.
I just said that. She takes care of 4 grandchildren.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's taking care of a lot of things in her life. And my answer was, stop feeling guilty. She went to her pastor and talked to her pastor about it at church. Because she's trying to figure out what is the, quote, right thing to do. Should I give up this money to the daughter? Because, you know, the family's coming in going, I need this and I need that. And, or do I keep it? And so she goes to the pastor and she goes to church. And, of course, she's praying about it. And don't we wish God would just drop down the answer and clearly say, this is what you do.
Yeah, this is what you do.
And so the pastor really couldn't say. You know, he says, I can't tell you what to do in this situation. This is a family situation. You need to really seek the Lord.
But can the Lord tell her what to do?
Of course he can. Of course.
And that to me...
And I believe he has.
Yeah, because Bobbye had spoken and said, keep the money and don't feel guilty.
I said, you know what?
And
this situation,
Diane said, I want to give some to his mother.
Right.
Right. So she's got such a giving heart, and she's going to cover the funeral expenses, and it's not that much money. And so
it's not much money. And so my answer was, what would he want? This is the question I asked her. What would he want to be done? He's passed away, and despite the circumstances of his passing, despite the argument, despite the issues, they still very much loved each other. Yes, there was betrayal and there were issues, as in any relationship. But the bottom line is they had been together, he loved her, he put her name on that policy for a reason. And so I said to her, this is what he wanted for you. And unless the Lord has strongly convicted you otherwise.
Not guilted you.
Not guilted. This is not about guilt.
Not condemned you.
That's right.
Not everybody telling you what they feel is right for you to do.
That's right. So everyone who is giving you their opinion, it doesn't matter. What matters is the conviction in your heart before the Lord. And I would recommend that you follow that. And I said, what do you think is in your heart?
Right.
And what would he want? And she said, well, he would want me to have it. and covered the expenses. And she says, I would
some to
like
his
to
mom.
give some
Right.
to his mom. Now, he didn't ever say that to her, but she said, I would like to send some money to his family, but I would put the money just in the bank because I know my family or their family or somebody's family is going to get this money at some point. In other words, this isn't money she's going to go out. This is not enough money to buy a car, okay? This isn't enough money to cover much of anything. But it comes down to what is the right thing to do.
Okay, and I
said,
go
keep
ahead.
it. I said, keep
She said
it.
keep it.
You're
Now-
going to use it for somebody else anyway.
All right, so you might have a different opinion. We get that. But I want to kind of summarize this, all right? There is a difference between right and wrong and good and evil. Do you understand that? There's a lot of people's opinions that go into right and wrong. God, what you might think is right, God might not see as a sin if someone doesn't do that. That is based on people's opinions, the right and wrong. But good and evil is very different. And that's why you have to bring these things to the Lord. Because Diane doesn't have any evil intent in her heart to be against his family, to be even against him. She's got to work through so many things that she's going to the Lord who is good to find out the answer. So it doesn't matter everyone's opinion of what she's going to do, if it's right or wrong. It matters what our good God says, because her intent is not for evil, it's for good. And sometimes that's a hard place to stand in. It's a hard place to say, you know what, I totally appreciate your opinion and your viewpoint on this, but I went to the Lord and he has led me in a different direction. Now, we can say that, he's led me in a different direction, but then to stand in that direction, to stand firm in what the Lord has instructed you. Like Bobbye said, what do you feel the Lord would want you to do? What do you think he would want you to do? She's bringing all of that herself to the Lord. It's then standing in that. So when people then come up against you and say, well, now I'm not going to talk to you for the next 6 months because you didn't do the right thing in my eyes. Well, it's not about the right thing in other people's eyes. It's the right thing in God's eyes. And that right thing, it does not tend to be for evil. That right thing is going to a good God, that we can do good things that have eternal fruit.
Yes, it's a very difficult thing, especially when it involves money. And money is that issue that always comes up when somebody passes away.
A root of all evil.
That, you know, the family, long-lost family members show up, and do they have a right to the money? And that's not for my opinion or anybody else's opinion. That does go back to the person who is the one whose name is on the policy. What is the quote right thing to do? And I think you do have to really pray through that. My heart breaks for her because she's going through a tremendous amount of emotional suffering from other reasons in addition to this.
Right.
But the point of the story is, as Tonilee said, stand for what you know God's calling you to do, no matter what other people say, and that's what's hard. Do not be guilted or condemned. God doesn't work that way. But if there's a conviction, you'll know it. And that's how God works.
And you go back to the Lord and deal with it.
And then you do whatever, you obey that conviction, regardless of how you feel. Because you may want to keep it, and God's saying, no,
you need to give it away. Right.
I said, just by the fact that you would want to even give it away is a sign to me that your heart's in the right place, okay? And that's where we need to be careful. And here's the other thing. Women today, and I address this to women more than men, women who are in the age group, especially in our 50s and 60s.
Sandwich years.
We are sandwiched between our older children
who have
grown up and may or may not have children. We could have, you know, our children who have children, right? And our elderly parents. And we are somehow responsible for the elderly parents and the children who have grown up and their children. So before long, we've got a lot of things we are contending with.
Yeah,
and
sometimes you lose your own voice in that time. You lose your own opinions in that time. You
a lot of people telling us what to do. So go to God and really seek what He is calling you to do. So this is the message of one of those situations that if it's, you may have a different opinion from what I said to my sister. But as we always say, if you have any comments, questions, we'd love to hear from you. We're always, if you're watching us at Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged at BobbyeandTonilee.com, you can always go there and watch this radio show. Or you can, of course, listen.
That sounds so funny.
You can watch the radio show. If you're listening to it right now at whatever station we are on. We're based in San Diego, but the show goes all over the country and is online. You can download the podcast. We'd love to hear from you and love to hear your comments about it. And one of the other places you'll find the show is on social media. If you go to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, you can always just keyword Bobbye and Tonilee, Daily Disciples, Media for Women. You're going to find us. And we'd love to connect with you, hear your comments. And if you have a question for us, we'd love to also approach that and kind of discuss that on the show.
You'll hear two sides of it.
Probably two different opinions. Right.
And then for those who are local, I know when this show is playing, and for those of you who are local, we are having a Pastor's Wife event this Saturday, November 7th at Foothills Community Church. It's $10, and it is for the encouragement of your pastor's wife. We want her to be there. So if you can get the word out about that, you can go to dailydisciples.org and sign her up or tell her about it, where she can literally have fellowship in a time to pray about those things that are on her heart and share with other people who are in the same situation. So we would love to see her there.
And last but not least, ladies, our 11th annual Women's Conference in San Diego is January 30th, The Power of Hope. And boy, do we need hope for 2016. The Power of Hope, Saturday, January 30th. Tickets are now the regular ticket price of $25.
Yes.
However, if you're listening to the program or watching the show, if you get this message, however you may get it, you can get 2 tickets for $30, which is $15 each. If you call 800-992-0369. You cannot get this offer on the website anymore. So,
and we're not going to give it out all the time.
That's right.
This is our first Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged episode, which means it's on radio and it's also online. And so we're offering this special offer right now.
2 tickets for $30, $15 each at the Power of Hope Conference, Saturday, January 30th in San Diego at Point Loma Nazarene University. And you can call 800-992-0369 to get more information and to get your tickets and get signed up.
Yes.
So that's all for today with Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. Until next time, we always hope to
see you soon.
Hi, my name is Bobbye Brooks.
And I'm Tonilee Adamson.
We're the co-founders of Daily Disciples Ministries, and we are hosting our 11th annual Women's Conference on
Saturday, January 30th, and it is the Power of Hope. And it's going to be held again at Point Loma Nazarene University, and we want to see you ladies there.
That's right. Tickets right now, they're on sale, and they are going fast. They're only $25, and that includes lunch and parking. You can get them at dailydisciples.org, or you can call
800-992-0369.
Ladies, listen, we know that 2016 is going to be a very significant year. We need hope that only comes from the Lord. So get your tickets today. Call 800-992-0369 or go to
dailydisciples.org.
and we will see you there.